Joining us, I'm Elaine Reyes. We want to update you on a fast developing situation in Ukraine. It's already being called the biggest European crisis of the 21st century. Here are some of the latest developments. Russian forces remain in the Crimean region of Ukraine, and there have been conflicting reports about whether Russia issued an ultimatum demanding Ukrainian troops in the region to surrender. Russia is denying the allegations, but tensions are high in the region. Meantime, there's talk of possible sanctions against Russia. We have a team of reporters spanning the globe to give you the most comprehensive coverage. Nick Harper is monitoring some key sessions at the United Nations in New York. Jim Spellman will join us here in Washington. Anya Ardayeva is gathering information in Moscow. And we have a team of correspondents, both Tom Barton and Stephanie Freid, on the ground in Crimea. Let's begin with Tom and bring us up to speed of what's happening there.
Hi there. Yes, on the ground here in Simferopol, the regional capital of Crimea. As the darkness fell, the talk here was of war between Ukraine and Russia. Not at far distance from here, from the capital, there is a Ukrainian military base where, despite conflicting reports over a potential ultimatum, Ukrainian soldiers are waiting in the dark, potentially, for a Russian attack to begin. There are other bases as well across the Crimean Peninsula that have been surrounded by Russian troops and that have refused, so far, to hand over their weapons. All of that to a backdrop of increasing tension and aggression from so-called self-defense squads, from groups of Cossacks and pro-Russian protesters here who have demanded protection from Russia from what they see and what they say are fascist and ultra-nationalist elements in Kiev, as we've been examining in my report. A typical sight these days in central Simferopol, Crimea's capital. Pro-Russian protesters demanding protection from what they call an interim government of fascists in the Ukrainian capital, Kiev.
They're inhuman. They never had human capacities. If you've got people who tore the babies out of their own women's wombs during World War II, that's what they did in western Ukraine, and they want to bring that here.
The crowd becomes very angry, jostling and shouting, demanding to know the loyalties of people around them. And some here do challenge the view that the future of ethnic Russians in Crimea is at risk. Maxim was one of those Russians who tapped on our shoulder and said he has a different opinion. But like Crimean Tatars and ethnic Ukrainians here, he and his friends won't dare discuss it on a busy street.
Most people in Crimea and Simferopol are under a certain information blockade, so they are incapable of realizing what is going on the mainland and in the world, and to assess Moscow's motives regarding Crimea.
Further down the street, anti-Semitic graffiti has been daubed on Simferopol's main synagogue. Anatoly, a local Jewish community leader, doesn't know who spray-painted his front door, raising fears among Crimea's small Jewish population about the future.
At 4 in the morning, a normal person might be at a disco relaxing, not with a backpack and a can of paint spraying graffiti on a religious building.
It is Ukrainian officials that have said they've been issued with an ultimatum by Russian forces that unless weapons are handed over by 0300 GMT, that's about 5 o'clock in the morning here, Russian troops will attack Ukrainians in their bases at various points in Crimea. Russian officials have denied that amid confused reports, but as far as we can understand, the Ukrainians are nervously braced for a potential war to start. There is also the attempts of Russian officials in Moscow to try and justify their military actions here on the Crimean Peninsula, saying they're trying to defend the rights of ethnic Russians here. But international diplomats have denounced those efforts, one US official saying that Russia is responding to a threat that does not really exist. Well, with me is Stephanie Freid. She's been covering the issues here in Ukraine as well. Stephanie, we understand that Kiev has been desperately trying to get its head around what's going on as well, haven't they?
Well, actually, yes. And as you said, Tom, there are a lot of conflicting reports. There has been this report that's been swirling in the past hours that Russia is essentially saying that if Ukrainian troops don't basically stand down, then they will go on the aggressive side. We're also hearing reports from the Deputy Interior Minister out of Kiev saying that He's essentially saying that there's a threat overnight, not saying where from or who from, but that troops that will be dressed up as Ukrainians will attack Russian troops. Again, nothing concrete about that report, but this is the Deputy Interior Minister out of Kiev saying that this is a threat coming out of here tonight. And just talking to people here on the ground, just as I was on my way here now, more confusion. One person came up to me. People do want to talk. They want to express themselves. One person said to me when he came up to me, "This is our time. This is our revolution." Back to you.
All right, Stephanie Freid, we'll see you a little bit later in our newscast for another update.